Kia ora, good afternoon. My name's Tony Ryle. I'm the chairman of the board of Transpower, and I'm joined by Alison Andrew, who's the chief executive of this great New Zealand company. And today, as part of our annual general meeting, we're going to talk about some of the amazing achievements made by Transpower and its excellent team of people this year, and also some of the challenges that we're going to face. So part of today is we're going to answer some of the questions that you've sent in over Facebook and other social media over the last few weeks. And Alison will take an opportunity to address some of those issues a bit later on. For those of you not so familiar with Transpower, this company is a state-owned enterprise, and we're responsible for the national grid. That's over 11,000 kilometres of those very big wires on pylons up and down the country that are moving energy all around New Zealand. The real strength of this company is that we make the complex business of moving energy around New Zealand as trouble-free as possible for our customers and our consumers. Transpower is also the systems operator appointed by the Electricity Authority, and we're responsible for the operation of the electricity system in real time. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, we dispatch the wholesale electricity market. I'm very pleased to be part of a company that is playing such an important role in the economy of New Zealand. Electricity is fundamental to our daily lives, and what I've been seeing here at Transpower since I joined the board is just how dedicated our team of people are to achieving the core purpose of this organisation, which is to connect New Zealanders to their power system through safe, smart solutions for today and tomorrow. You know, as a transmission monopoly, Transpower challenges itself every day to be as innovative and as cost-effective and as customer-focused as it possibly can be. And in the last year, we've made a lot more progress in achieving those objectives. Alison will talk later on about a major program we've embarked on as part of the transformation of this organisation, which is delivering millions of dollars of savings to our customers and consumers. We're also working very effectively with our second wave of this transformation, which will further release efficiencies which can be passed on to our customers and consumers around New Zealand. It's a continuous process, transformation, and we are preparing for a future which is relatively uncertain. You'll all be aware of Tesla and batteries and electric vehicles and solar power and all of this that's going on. This is changing the whole dynamic of the electricity market in New Zealand, and as the people who are providing the electricity backbone that moves energy around, it's a big challenge for us as well. Recently, Alison spent time overseas studying what other national grids are doing to prepare for this big technological change that we're seeing over the next few years. Alison, what did you think?
Thanks, Tony. Let me add my welcome to everybody watching here today. I certainly got some great insights from my trip to Europe, where I met with Siemens, RTE, which is the French transmission system owner and operator, UK Power Networks, the UK National Grid, and Energinet, which is the Danish transmission system operator and grid owner. The industry is facing quite similar challenges to what we are facing here in New Zealand, and despite differences in our power systems, market structures and generation mixes, the view of the future is largely similar. So the world of electricity and energy is changing and changing quite dramatically. The pace of change and how far the change is going to go depends on some of the particular conditions in each country. But one thing we all agree on is that in 5 to 10 years, our world is going to be very, very different from what it is today. And that's both challenging, but also quite exciting. We recently wrote a piece and placed it on LinkedIn, which has got some more insights from my trip if people are interested in having a look at that. So in the current environment, it's really important that we look as widely as possible to gather as much intelligence from around the globe so we can keep on top of some of these challenges and keep abreast of the game and make sure that we're helping enable a really good energy future for New Zealand. So preparing for what might be has been a big part of the work we've done this year. So in Transmission Tomorrow, which is our report outlining our view of the future, We looked at scenarios that might eventuate over some timeframes out to 2040. And this has helped us set these sorts of scenarios for the next 20 or so years. We're now taking those scenarios and developing them further. So this year we've done some further investigations into technologies such as batteries and how that might impact on the power system, so storage. And we're looking at the impact of solar, and we'll be doing further work to do a bit more of a deep dive to understand the implications of this new technology. And the reports on solar and electric vehicles will be released shortly. We're working very closely with stakeholders, customers, to make sure that as a part of a vertically integrated value chain, we all understand what's happening and we all play our part to keep the lights on for New Zealand. So we've refocused our strategic priorities around our long-term outlook for the future, and we'll talk more about that shortly.
Thank you, Alison. Because I've got an accounting background, the people here of Transpower have asked me to give the financial performance update for this year in review. Transpower's performed incredibly well, both financially and with our non-financial targets this year. We've achieved virtually all of our business plan and statement of corporate intent objectives, and we've worked very hard to achieve these, despite what's been quite a challenging period of what we call our regulatory control period number 2. And let me run you through some of the slides. Our operating revenue was 1,061 million, a 3% increase from the 1,034 million in the previous period. The increase was a result of uplifts to the inputs used to calculate our allowable transmission revenue under the regulatory arrangements set by the Commerce Commission. Our net profit after tax before net changes in the fair value of financial instruments was 208.4 million. That's an increase of 8% from 2015-16. Our capital expenditure for the year was 270 million. That's an increase of 40 million compared to the previous period. The previous year's CapEx figure reflected the deferral of selected works until later in this control period. Most of our capital spend for this financial year related to many relatively small Commerce Commission regulated capital expenses, and the portfolio areas of highest additional spend were tower painting and new transformers. Transpower maintained tight control on its operating expenses with an increase of only 1% to 287.8 million, and this increase was mainly due to higher investigation costs from customer-focused projects such as investigation works for NZTA and for a large property development in Auckland. We declared total dividend of 165 million for the Crown in 2016-17, and this was in addition to the $56 million in tax Transpower will pay in the 2016-17 financial year. Overall, due to our transformational changes and our very strong focus on cost control and achieving efficiencies while maintaining a top quality service, Transpower has done a great job in meeting all its financial objectives and making sure that we've maintained the quality of service that our customers and consumers want.
So financial performance is one part of the equation, the other is our operational performance. Our full operational performance can be viewed on our website, www.transpower.co.nz. We've had a successful year with a number of key initiatives achieved. Let's look at a couple here. Let's start with safety. The safety of our people and the public is really important to us, and we had a big focus this year, particularly around a behavioural safety program with our service providers in the field and a focus on critical risks and making sure that we have our critical controls covered. So really proud of the substantial reduction in the numbers of people we've injured over this year. So our TRIFR, total recordable injury frequency rate, has dropped from 7.8 last year to 5 this year. And this is a big improvement over 2015 when we had a TRIFR up over 13.8. Our safety program was recognised this year as a finalist in the 2017 Deloitte Energy Excellence Awards. Another operational highlight is around our ongoing transformation that Tony mentioned earlier. Over the past 18 months, we've realised considerable operational efficiencies and savings against anticipated future costs. The first phase of our transformation, Transformation 1, delivered significant benefits, which included, first of all, the reduction in the injury frequency rate I mentioned earlier, the TRIFR improvement. We had an increase in the availability of our HVAC circuits, which was above our target, so they rose to 98.7%. We got lots of efficiencies in procedure and policy or process through a new way we undertake our grid business through a grid restructure, and really good cost savings and efficiencies in both our OPEX and our CAPEX programs. We also undertook a behavioural transformation component that focused on leadership of our key people leaders to enable more collaborative work across the business and with key stakeholders. And this work is continuing as now to our second phase of transformation. This year we had a large focus on dry winter planning. As you'll have seen in the news this year, we experienced several months of low inflows into the South Island hydro lakes. New Zealand's power system is heavily dependent on hydro inflows, particularly in the lower South Island big reservoir storage systems. So while the rest of the country was inundated with lots and lots of rain, the lower part of the South Island was actually quite dry. This pushed the hydro lakes levels between our risk curves down to the 1% and 4% mark, which meant we started to trigger some concern around whether we were going to have a shortage of power over the winter period. So we went to a risk watch over 8 weeks from the 1st of June to the 28th of July. So in response to our role as system operations, we increased the monitoring and reporting activities and working with industry to prepare for all possible scenarios, including some rationing. Then the low levels generated higher prices, the more expensive generation came on, power flows went south across the HVDC link, and we kept key stakeholders informed as we worked through that. Fortunately, in July the 28th, after significant rainfall, the national and South Island hydro risk curves returned to normal. And we're now compiling our findings, and we're going to do a review in place to make sure we're well prepared for winter 2018. Another operational highlight this year has been working on Auckland development. So in line with Transmission Tomorrow, we're preparing for the development of a strategy to make sure we can meet the needs of New Zealand's largest city in Auckland. For Auckland, there's no significant generation within 60 kilometres of the city centre, meaning almost all of the power has to be brought into the city, some of it over quite large distances. Our existing network in Auckland was largely built over 60 years ago, built over rural paddocks, and we now have quite a lot of development in, under and around our assets in the city. That's quite a challenge for us as we want to maintain and secure the grid, and as we might need to maintain and reconductor some of that older network. At the moment, we have around $350 million of work on projects underway to move our assets out of the way of the other infrastructure development that is happening in Auckland. We're all competing for space around a fairly skinny isthmus, and this is causing a number of challenges for us, but we're well geared up to make sure that we can do our bit to keep Auckland moving. A large piece of work this year has been preparing the future strategy to understand how might Auckland need its power in the future, and how can we make sure that we have the transmission system there ready to meet those needs. We started a series of engagements with key stakeholders in Auckland, and we'll be continuing to do that work over the next coming year. This year we signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Housing New Zealand, which owns many of the houses immediately situated under our lines, to make sure that we can help them continue to develop their asset base, and we can continue to maintain and ensure that we keep the national grid running. Another highlight for us this year has been around making sure we invest in our people, one of our core assets. So our workforce is highly skilled and quite diverse, and we believe in making sure we offer high development opportunities for our people. I talked about our transformation program. We were focused on leadership development and around ensuring that we are training around our behaviours, the 4 key values that we want to drive across the business of clarity, accountability, reliability and delivery. The program's been well received, and we got a 10 percentage point increase in our staff engagement over the year. So our overall engagement this year was 75%, which was that 10% lift over the year before. We've developed a new diversity and inclusion strategy to make sure we take tangible steps to ensure that our workforce is diverse and we have diverse ideas coming to the table, and that it's an inclusive environment where everybody can participate in the Transpower culture. Our diversity and inclusion focus is now reflected in our policies and in our key documents, and we're currently embedding it in our processes to make sure we make a real difference for Transpower and for New Zealand. We recognise we still have some steps to take to increase diversity in our organisation, and we have an active plan that we're implementing around this. We want Transpower to better reflect the communities we serve, so our initial focus is on increasing the participation of women and Māori in all levels across our organisation. We're looking to make sure we expand our talent pool to ensure we can attract and retain the good level of diversity across our business. We've also embarked on a program of new ways of working. This year we moved recently into our new building, Waikoko, in head office in Wellington for our staff. And this is really a physical embodiment of this transformation change program we've had underway. So we have unassigned desks, we have a lot of collaborative working spaces, big floor plans, open plan, and it's really around getting our people to be able to collaborate more, work across the business, and have a good environment to work in. And we developed that significant change program on time and under budget towards the end of November this year. All in all, it's been a very busy year, getting underway or progressing our transformation efforts with all the regulatory processes underway, industry developments, planning for Auckland development, and significant changes continuing in the market. I'll now hand back to Tony to talk about transmission pricing and how we're working with customers.
Thank you, Alison. Transpower's continual focus on increasing efficiencies, innovative ways of doing things, and the transformation that we're having within our own organisation are all designed to provide as low cost services to our customers as possible, and to make sure that we can keep as low as possible that share of your power bill that comes from transmission services. As this chart shows, the portion of your power bill that comes from Transpower services is 9%, and it's been at that level for the last 10 years. And we're working every day to make sure that we can keep our charges as low as possible. However, it's important to remember that Transpower is part of quite a big value chain, and we're working every day with our generator customers and our electricity distribution business customers and what we call our direct connect customers to make sure that we are working to optimise our contribution to their business. And as we head into our next regulatory control period, we're working to make sure that our customers and our stakeholders are fully informed on what our plans are and how we want to make sure that we work closely with them. Alison.
Our landowners are also a key stakeholder base for us. We have assets on more than 10,000 properties, and our network runs across more than 30,000 properties. So ensuring that we have good nationwide effective landowner engagement is really critical for us. With urban development on the rise, especially around Auckland, we've remained focused on maintaining transmission corridors around our assets, as these are really important to make sure we can maintain our assets and keep people safe. Transmission corridors are clear areas around our assets where we don't want to have any development. So our challenge is to make sure we are involved when parties want to do developments in and around our assets to make sure that they are in keeping with preserving our corridors. Without clear corridors, access to our assets becomes really quite difficult and we're unable to maintain our assets. Very pleased to say that we've worked very constructively with a number of councils, including the Auckland Unitary Plan, over the year to make sure that we have those protections in regional plans. Our work in assets also can have an impact on the communities we pass through. So we have a community care fund that invests in projects and adds values and benefits to communities around the national grid routes. This year we've donated nearly $1 million across 38 projects around New Zealand, ranging from facilities at local marae near our Banithorpe Haywoods project, renovations at a community theatre in Onehunga, and a grant to help the predator-free Brooklyn continue its great work in Wellington. So some of our power outages can be traced back to rats or possums getting into our network. So being predator-free makes community sense and is a really good business sense.
Alison runs a really complex business, and the board works assiduously to make sure our business is as transparent as possible. So we publish an awful lot of information, and a lot of those reports look at future challenges and how the system and how New Zealand might respond to those. And they're all available on our website at this address. We also publish a lot of other information on other social networks such as LinkedIn and Facebook. So I hope Alison and I have provided you with some useful information about the work that we're doing here at Transpower. This is a team of very dedicated New Zealanders working to make sure that businesses, families, communities get to enjoy all the benefits of electricity and the power that it gives in our lives. Thank you very much for your time today.